Mic check 1 2. What it do? Welcome back to the Mic Check podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. Today we're talking about NFL free agents and who's left on the table if a team is looking to land a suitable role player, starter, or backup out of this remaining free agency class. Before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate that feedback. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys. So we're covering some NFL. As I promised in the previous video, we're about to go lean heavy into this football. Y'all know that that's my wheelhouse. So I'm going to be hitting this thing hard over the next couple of weeks just to get you all ready for the NFL season, as well as get into some fantasy football. But today we're focused on free agents and who's left. And there's a couple of articles out there that are up to date within the last 2 days. So I'm going to be referencing a site called NFLTradeRumors.com. So if there's anybody that's been signed in the last, let's say 6-7 hours, it's probably not on this site, but here's the information. All right. So they've basically got like a top 100 list. I'm going to cover like the top 10 to 20 and the people that I think could make an impact if they are to be signed by a team. So the number one out there is going to be Dalvin Cook, a running back. He's out of Minnesota. They cut him loose. And he's only roughly 27 years old, so he's got some good tread left on the tires. He's been injured a little bit, so he's got less carries than the average person. I liken it to Mark Ingram some years back. He was a little bit older than the average back that was a free agent at the time, but he had less tread on the tires because he was in a loaded backfield type of situation. He wasn't the primary guy. Dalvin Cook has number one missed time due to injury, but also has shared touches with people at times. So he still got some good tread on the tires. You got a 30-year-old edge rusher in Jadeveon Clowney, 29-year-old cornerback in Ronald Darby, 28-year-old running back in Ezekiel Elliott, and Kareem Hunt is on their list, but he actually just signed with the Saints sometime yesterday on Tuesday. So he's 28 years old. They were looking for somebody to come in and help relieve some of the stress that's going to be created by the suspension of Alvin Kamara for 3 games. And I think Hunt will be a good person to bring in there. And plus, one of the Saints running backs that was drafted this year actually went down to injury. So this is actually a really good pickup because I think Hunt is one of those every down backs that you love to have put down in your roster. Leonard Fournette is still out there. Teddy Bridgewater, Jarvis Landry. That's going to be a running back, quarterback, and wide receiver. All are either from New Orleans or have played for the Saints at some point, with Landry and Bridgewater are former Saints. Leonard Fournette playing at St. Augustine High School in New Orleans. Looking a little bit further into their list, more notable names: Trey Flowers, he's a 30-year-old edge rusher. Kyle Van Noy, he's a 32-year-old edge rusher. You've got Byron Jones, 30-year-old cornerback. Kenny Galladay, 29-year-old receiver. Taylor Lewan, 32-year-old offensive tackle. And one of the old guys, edge rusher Justin Houston, he's 34. And then Melvin Ingram is an edge rusher. He's also 34. And then finally, you've got cornerback Casey Hayward, who's 33. And a 34-year-old Julio Jones is still out there. So for me, the most probable to be signed before, let me preface with this. Typically, there's a point in preseason where teams lose players due to injury or whatever the case may be, so they have to grab somebody. I think that many of the people that I just named are going to get a call when that ultimately happens. I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but as long as you follow football, or if you follow football as long as me, you'll know that every preseason there's an injury that creates a job opportunity for some free agent that's just sitting by the phone and his agent is taking calls. I think quite a few guys on this list fit that bill. However, I believe that there's a few guys who are going to get opportunities prior to injuries happening. As people make cuts and shift money around, they're going to bring in some of these free agents on a decent prove-it type deal to see if they can find a diamond in the rough, or somebody's trash becomes their treasure, so to speak. So Dalvin Cook is probably number one on this list for a reason. I think he's going to get a job right away. I think Jadeveon Clowney is ranked a little too high because his performance doesn't always align with the salary he thinks he deserves. So I think that's going to push him down this list. Ronald Darby will get a job because you can never have enough depth at cornerback. Ezekiel Elliott, if he'll take the right money, he can get a job a lot quicker. If he overvalues himself as a running back, he's not going to get the money he desires. Leonard Fournette, very similar situation. Teddy Bridgewater has proven he could be a good backup who can win you 2 or 3 games if need be. And I think that somebody's going to grab a 30-year-old quarterback who's proven he can jump in the fire and make things happen. Jarvis Landry might have a tougher time getting the job, but I think that as a depth piece, he will find an opportunity somewhere. Same thing can be said for Justin Houston. You can never have enough edge rushers, or you should never pass on a decent edge rusher. So him, Trey Flowers, etc., Kyle Vanoy, these guys are going to get calls. Melvin Ingram, I'm not certain because his performance hasn't been exactly great over the last few years. So I don't know if people are going to determine that. I don't know if people are going to determine that the value is there for him, but he's a guy that might be waiting for something to happen, and then eventually he'll get that call sometime late in the preseason, maybe right before the season starts, and they can offer him a decent contract. So we'll kind of see how it goes, but those are my thoughts on the remaining free agents. Are you guys football fans? Let me know what you've been following. Who on the list that I talked about is going to be the first to get signed? I think it's going to be Dalvin Cook, even though Kareem Hunt actually leaped the list. The Saints just really had a need because they had a suspension and an injury. But other than that, who's going to get a job as this preseason progresses? So this has been T for the Mike Check Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next time I'm out. Peace.